Unbelievable. No, wait. You're starting to freak me out. Thank you. All I can say is it must have been a really shitty winter. This is more than I can handle. But it is always good to be back in Minneapolis, you know. But I've got to say that, to be honest, you're more excited to see me than I've ever been to see myself. This is a fun evening for you. I have to live with this shit every moment, and it's fucking exhausting. You know, every morning I get up and stumble into the bathroom and brush my teeth, and eventually I have the courage to open my eyes and look in the mirror and I go, fuck! You again? Before we continue, I just want to take a moment to warn those of you in the crowd this evening that have really never seen my comedy. Because this could be a long night for you. I know that you're out there. You sneak in. You've had friends of yours who said, hey, come along. This will really be a lot of fun. You just may need to find new friends. And I'm sure there's a website where you can do that. Then, of course, there's those of you who've seen me on YouTube and on any Comedy Central, any of the things that are out there that you can catch me on, and you think from those bits and pieces you know my comedy, and you don't. Finally, of course, there are those of you who read the paper or saw somewhere that a comedian was coming to the State Theater, and wouldn't that be a fun night out? You're fucked. God, the discourse in this country is completely disintegrated in the past few years, and has really reached the point where when I listen to both sides, what I actually hear are dogs barking. I'm serious. I wish they just brought out dogs to bark at each other and a different breed every week. You know, it would be great. But as a result of that discourse going to hell, I have discovered that members of the audience during my set will actually get up and storm out of the room. And that pisses me off. Because in my heart, I am an entertainer. And that kind of shit will not go down with me. But then I began to understand that people, when they come to see me, they're coming to see a comic. And so they expect the comic to be funny. And who can blame them for that? But I really am a different kind of a comic. A lot of the shit that comes out of my mouth isn't fucking funny. And yet, people laugh their tits off at it. So if you're sitting there and I say something that upsets you, disturbs you, irritates you, angers you, don't you dare, don't you dare get out of your seat and storm out of the room like some sissy fucking pansy. You sit there, because I have just wasted some of my time with you explaining to you that I agree with you. Another way I could put this is that I was recently performing in Wendover, Nevada. I can tell by your stunned silence you don't even know what I'm talking about. There really is a city. It's called Wendover. Yes, it's in Nevada. How did you miss it? And it takes an entertainer with a lot of courage to end up in Wendover. I like to perform in places that nobody in their right fucking mind would go to. And I love Wendover. And the reason you haven't heard of it is because it's a shithole. No, you know a place is a shithole when the people who live there have nicknamed the place. So you say, great to be in Wendover, and they go, no, Bendover. It's truly in one of my top 3 places to kill yourself. If you're thinking of suicide, you may want to hop about 6 planes to get there tomorrow. And what you will see is 7 casinos, trailer parks as far as the eye can see. No foliage anywhere. And you will take a good look around and realize that there's nothing to distract you from your mission. You'll hop right to it. Or it may work to your advantage. You'll take a look around and go, wow, I thought my life was shitty. Wendover is located right smack dab on the border of Utah. Now, why would they build 7 casinos on the border of Utah? Who lives there? Mormons and people in the witness protection program. So they built it so that Mormons could sneak in to gamble, and I saw them as night was falling coming over the hills in their covered wagons. If you're looking for a newspaper that you can read every day and feel absolutely great when you finish it, it's the Wendover Times. It has no news. None. I don't even know why they call it a newspaper. It just should be called paper. Or El Papel, if you will. They had a picture of me on the front page. I guess to warn the good people of Wendover that a Jew had arrived in town. And so there might be sarcasm in the area. They said about my comedy that he is known for his comedy style, which often includes mental breakdowns. That's certainly a press clipping you want to send home to Mom. Who were they trying to attract to the theater? The clinically insane? Someone who's been locked up for years because they have 16 personalities? They get a copy of The Windover Times. Look who's coming to town. Louis Black, he's a piece of shit. I've never liked that son of a bitch. Hey, everybody calm down. I think it's time for lunch. That argument could go on for weeks. So, if at any point during my act, I pull out a kazoo and shove it up my ass and begin playing the Star-Spangled Banner, you have nothing to worry about. It's all just a part of my act. As I've grown older, each year I've dropped holidays from my calendar that I don't think apply anymore. And this year, I'm proud to say that I dropped Valentine's Day. Yeah. Now, let's clear things up. I'm not saying we shouldn't have a holiday of love. Just not in fucking February! It doesn't belong there. It does not belong there. And if you ladies want this holiday because it's your holiday, we're not going to even argue about that, are we? Because if you don't realize that men don't give a shit about it, and they don't, and if your husband is telling you that he does, then you have tortured him like some kind of prisoner of war. It's February. The holiday doesn't belong in February. When should we celebrate it? In the spring, when a man can feel his nuts again. It's February. It's the most depressing month of the year. How do we know that? Because we made it shorter, and it still seems fucking longer. Sometimes it's endless. Why would you pick the most depressing month of the year to remind many people they're alone? It's 6 weeks after Christmas. Really? Are you kidding me? Didn't I just buy you a splendid pile of shit? I spent months putting it together. Going to specialty stores, I got online, went to the mall to make sure you got everything your little heart desired. And I wrapped each and every one of them because I didn't want to have that fucking argument again. It's not a present unless you wrap it. You said they were the nicest gifts you'd ever received. You said it was the most wonderful Christmas of your life. And now, 6 weeks later, you have the balls to come to me and say, it wasn't enough. Well, my little gumdrop, I've got a surprise for you. Go fuck yourself! It's February. It's the height of flu season. Honey, do you love me? I'll tell you when I can get the hawk out of my throat. We're going to go to a really nice restaurant, aren't we? And have a really romantic meal. Oh, yeah. We're going to go to the nicest restaurant on the planet because money is no object, because that's how much I love you. And we're going to do that when I can get to the car without shitting my pants. Happy Valentine's Day. I had a revelation Christmas before last. It occurred when a terrorist got on a plane with explosives strapped around his dick. And his mission was to blow up Detroit. I was waiting. Some of you didn't seem to get that was the punchline. I mean, he'd have been hard-pressed to find a building left to blow up. It's unbelievable to me. I wondered for a long time, why Detroit? And it was just recently revealed that he was planning on going to Houston or Chicago, but that the ticket to Detroit was cheaper. As frightening as that was, just as frightening was what occurred right afterwards. It occurs whenever there's a terrorist threat or attack. The TSA, Homeland Security, has a breakdown. It's the debate that goes on between the Democrats and the Republicans over which party is better equipped to protect us, the American people, from terrorism. If you truly believe that your party, after all that has transpired, that you believe that your party is better equipped than the other party to protect us from terrorism, then you, and I'm saying this as a friend, are fucking delusional! There's nothing to be debated, okay? You better fucking get that now. If you don't get this, if you don't realize that both parties have a vested interest in keeping us, the American people, alive, then you've missed the point. They need us to keep living so those idiots will have someone to fucking talk to. Because if we die, they will only have themselves to talk to, and then they will die. What has to happen when something like that occurs is that both parties have to then go off together and discuss what needs to be done. If they really desperately need to debate, then each party should pick someone to tell us which of them has the better nipples. We don't have time for that debate. Why? Because we Americans have shit to do. Look, the reason I know that neither party is better equipped than the other party in terms of protecting us is because both parties were to blame for what happened on that day. And how do I know that? Because of and now I'm going to say a word that's going to come as a shock to you. I know it because of a fact. That's the word you never hear. Democrats and Republicans believe that what they tell you about the fact is actually the fact itself. And it isn't a fucking fact! The fact is that both parties were to blame because neither parties, in the 8.5 years from 9/11, were capable of getting the list of names of all of the terrorists and the would-be terrorists to all of the airports in the world. They just couldn't do it. I don't think you understand how long 8.5 years really is, do you? Imagine if your child came back from college and then spent the next 8.5 years with you. It would even feel like 20, wouldn't it? 8.5 years. Meanwhile, during that time, cell phone companies were capable of turning my cell phone into a fucking television set! But the Democrats and the Republicans couldn't get it out. They just couldn't get it done. It was too hard. Makes me squeeze my pee-pee. That's how hard it was. What did the fuckers run out of Mimeo paper? There was nobody around to collate? Eight and a half years ago, I could have gotten a barge and taken it to the harbor of New York City where I live, and in that barge, I could have filled it up with donkeys, stem to stern, packed with donkeys, and on the back of each and every donkey would be a list of the names of all the terrorists, or would-be terrorists, and I could have pushed that barge away from shore. And I believe that in that 8.5 years, one of those donkeys, just by accident, would have stumbled into an airport somewhere. The other reason that I know that both parties were to blame is because neither the Democrats nor the Republicans or anyone that we have hired whose job it is on a daily basis to come up with scenarios over what a terrorist might do, that nobody within the borders of the United States at any time had the thought that there would be a terrorist with explosives strapped around his dick and that he would try to blow up Detroit. Maybe the homeless guy on my block who wears aluminum foil on his head in order to protect himself from electromagnetic waves, and who among us can blame him for that? Maybe on his rounds he stopped at a fire hydrant and went, you know, I have it on good authority that there's a terrorist with explosives strapped around his dick. And he's going to blow up Detroit. Don't tell anybody. Since 9/11, it is harder for us to focus on terrorism, which is why it's important that the Democrats and the Republicans do their job. It's harder for us because we've become more distracted. There are distractions everywhere. It doesn't help to say to us, you, the American people, keep an eye out. What? We're not? And a lot of people, when they see something odd, think, especially in your state, in Minneapolis, because you guys empathize with fucking anything. Seriously, how else do you elect Michelle Bachmann? I know she sounds crazy, but maybe it's just me. I mean, it doesn't help us when some of the guidelines that seem to be out there are things like when you go to the airport and you're traveling internationally and they say, did a stranger pack your bags? How does that help you find a terrorist? Because if the person answers yes, you've learned one thing. That person is fucking out of their mind. Oh yeah, I got out the phone book and I'm so tired of packing myself. And I just flipped to a page and closed my eyes, and they came right over. And they do a nice thing with socks, and I finally learned how to fold my t-shirts. We are distracted. You explain how it's possible that I don't watch the Jersey Shore ever. And yet, I know the names of all the people on that show. I don't think that's right. Even if I didn't have a television or an internet or a cell phone or any other way that I could be communicated with about them, if I had none of those, I would still know the names of two of them. Just by walking into a bookstore, which is where I saw that Snooki and JWoww had both written books. What kind of fucking names are Snooki and JWoww? What adult names their child after a snack treat? I'm in a bookstore. Faulkner, Hemingway, Tolstoy, JWoww, Snooki! Are you shitting me? Makes me pine for Wendover. Another way that we're distracted is that many Americans spend a lot of time downloading apps or applications into their phone. And they want to get just the right amount so that they will feel like a whole person. I can tell by the puzzled look on some of your faces that you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. That's because I'm really cutting edge. If you don't know what an app or an application is, when you get home tonight, I want you to get down on your hands and knees and thank whatever God it is that you pray to for the fact that you don't know what an application is. Because you will maintain a portion of your brain that will serve you in good stead until the day you die. But some of you out there better watch just how many applications you're downloading into your phone, because I believe there is a critical mass that you will reach. And when you do that, that part of your brain will die! And you will lay in bed at night and go, whew, I didn't have a thought today. One of the most popular applications that there is and there's a variety of people who put them out. It's the application that allows you to tap into your phone the following: where is the best place to eat sushi in this neighborhood? And your phone will tell you. I believe if you're standing on any block in America and you're asking an inanimate object, where's the best place to get raw fish, you've lost your fucking mind. I know about losing one's mind, because when I was younger, I took LSD just to prepare me for the technological revolution. I would never tell anyone to try LSD. It is not a drug you suggest to people. It scared the shit out of me, because for 30 minutes while on it, I lost my name. That's right. It's a lot different than forgetting your name. If you forget your name, it's still in here. You may find it. If you lose your name, it's out there. It could be anywhere, and you may need to buy a plane ticket to go find it. And you can't turn to your friends, because they're on LSD. They're having a cosmic conversation about something, and you can't bust in and go, "Holy shit! Do any of you remember my fucking name?" Because then they will try to remember your name, and they will forget their name. And now none of you have names, and you will never get home again. 30 minutes. If you lost your name for 30 minutes by just real time, the watch, that would be staggering. But 30 minutes in LSD time is 27 years. During which, apparently, I was given a medal for valor for my service in World War II, and oddly enough, well, I wasn't even born then. Then, I remembered I had a wallet. Son of a bitch, was I clever. I reached for it, and just before I opened it, I panicked. I thought, holy fuck, what if there's nothing in there but Monopoly cards? As crazy and as far gone as I was at that point in time, it never occurred to me to turn to the rotary phone and say, "Hey, do you know where the best place to eat raw fish is in this town?" There are a variety of applications that you can buy that will give you that information. People download it, and they think they know where the application came from, and they don't. Because where was it downloaded from? From the air. You don't know who wrote the application, and yet you're following it. It's probably some grad student living in Wisconsin who needs $10 an hour and is spending half the day masturbating. Oh yeah, son of a bitch, I'll tell you where you can find sushi, asshole. Meanwhile, people are walking all around you, and they actually live in the neighborhood. You could ask 10 of them. And then you could go eat at the sushi place, and if you don't like it, you know who told you, and you can beat the shit out of them. There's only one application that I really want. I need it for when I'm at the airport, because I spend way too much time there, and it doesn't work out well for me. I believe when you read in the paper about me, it'll be something to the effect of noted comedian found shitting on conveyor belt. I just want you to think kindly of me, because I can't handle it. I can't. I'm there too much. And when you have to, on an almost daily basis, watch people who are flying out of the airport who maybe take a trip once or twice a year and just don't get it, where you hear questions like, well, why can't I bring my lawnmower? I left the gasoline at home. The TSA is bombarded with people on a daily basis, and all I want to do is help them out. I think the federal government should download the list of names of all the terrorists and would-be terrorists and their photos if they have them. Or if they're on Facebook, even better, because you can never have too many friends. So that I can sit there and keep an eye out for these bastards. But, you know, right after the terrorist with the explosives strapped around his dick. And let me just say, I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall when they convinced him to blow his dick off. Seriously. That is a seminar. Tony Robbins, my ass. Right after that occurred, they finally brought into the airports the body scanner. That seemed to upset people. And I felt it was an important step because somebody could show up with a wick coming out of their dick and a bomb up their ass. That's a scenario. I thought of it. It's a scenario. Because that body scanner takes a picture of you naked for just an instant. And that upset a lot of Americans. I'm at the airport too much. I don't give a fuck. If naked, I don't give a shit. Are you kidding me? Anything that gets me through that line fucking faster. 3 years after 9/11, 3 years, I knew all the members of the TSA at my airport in Newark. And so finally, I just finally went to them and said, look, can we cut a deal here? If I show up naked, can I skip the line? Now, there's a group of people who are also upset by this scanner because in order to take that picture of you, you get a little radiation, and that worries some folks. And I know it because I could hear them discussing it on their cell phones. At what point don't you get it? The little radiation scares you? How the fuck do you go to a dentist? The dentist says, we're going to x-ray your teeth, we're going to give you a little radiation. And then him and the assistant leap and hide behind a lead bunker. Now, I used to have an iPhone, and it was a great computer. It was in no way a phone, because the carrier was AT&T, and AT&T is a carrier in much the same way as a mosquito carries malaria. I'd been better off with a Dixie cup and a string. I finally took it over to the Apple store to see if there was something they could do. And let me just say, if you're interested in what life is like on other planets, you're going to want to get to the Apple store. They are not of us. They have no genitals. It's why they stand so close. They're sniffing you. It's how they get their data. Yes, it is. So I was standing in the Apple store, and a capon came up to me. I see you have an iPhone. How many applications have you downloaded into your phone? Well, I haven't downloaded any. I came here to see if you had an app that would turn this piece of shit into a fucking phone. Now, if you can do me a favor and start running, I want to see if it works as a missile. John Bowman, my good friend and a great comic, told me of a story. He went to the Apple store to do some business, and he gave the woman, the sales lady, a credit card. And she looked at it, and she went, "John Bowman." He said, "No, it's John Bowman." And she said, "John Bowman." They know. They know better than we do. I live 6 blocks from Times Square. I live in the heart of New York City. And this phone would not work in my apartment. My conversations were like, this is how fucked up I was. I bought a landline so I could keep my fucking phone. I broke with AT&T when they announced that you could buy for your home a transmitter for $200. A $200 transmitter, so that you could help AT&T build the infrastructure you thought you were getting when you bought the piece of shit. We don't know, do we, what a cell phone does to us. Imagine what a transmitter will do. I believe that your shit'll be glowing in a week. Honey, have we been eating phosphorus? Here's the kicker. AT&T is then going to charge you $12 a month to use the transmitter you already bought from them, so that AT&T successfully turned your cell phone back into a fucking landline, asshole. I finally went down to AT&T and quit. And you can't quit a contract. Okay? Don't even fucking try it. You quit your contract, they will find you and shoot you in the leg. So I went down to Verizon, and I got myself a Droid. Don't you ever applaud an inanimate object again. I believe that's why they have that section about the golden calf in the Bible. What did you think I was going to do? Launch into some commercial for this? Oh, yeah. I couldn't be happier. When I got my Droid, it changed my life. 3 days later, I accepted Christ into my heart as my one true Savior. And Droid is the one with the Jesus app. Even if you get rid of it, every Easter Sunday, he comes back again. When I first got the Droid, I was as happy as you folks who still are happy. Not me. I mean, at first I was very happy about it. It's a great phone and a tremendous computer. And when you turned it on, it said its name. Droid. I keep it here in my pocket. I wish it would say groin. Then I'd always know where it is. I don't think it's really smart to keep a phone this large and a screen that big right next to your nutsack. I believe my sperm are dying. I hear them weeping every morning. Son of a bitch, Lou. It's hot as hell down here. God damn it, it's like the sun is out 24 hours a day. Get us some water. I don't think we're gonna make it to the top of the hill again. The Droid is unbelievable because it actually has a series of panels. You just touch the phone like this, like fucking magic, and a new panel would appear with all sorts of icons on it. They do all sorts of things. I don't even know what half of those fucking icons do. And I'm not going to touch one I don't know because I don't want to enter an alternative universe. A few days after my warranty expired, so did the fucking phone. It froze on visual voicemail, and I could not use the phone anymore to make calls. I believe that my phone was trying to torment me. Here are all the people you have to call, and you can't. I took it down to the folks at Verizon. They said, been having trouble with that phone? Yeah. Well, to be honest, and I'm quoting, we've been having some trouble with the Droid. And you fucking sold it to me! Well, we can fix it. We have a download. Oh, you do? Here. Let me put it here. Is that where you're gonna shit on it? They were not happy with me. They took the phone from me and put it on a life support system. And it died. But then, in just a few minutes, it started to come back to life, and the colors were brighter than I remembered. Oh my God, they brought it back. They've given me my Droid back. I immediately hit one of the text icons to be sure that I could tell my friends I was back in communication. But nothing showed up about texting. What showed up was all of my email. Pretty fucking strange. Then I hit the email icon, and my emails didn't show up. What showed up was a face of some big-headed guy, a Facebook. It was his Facebook page. He wasn't even my fucking friend. I wasn't his friend. Did my phone want me to communicate with him? I decided, I just want to use it as a phone. That'll be fine. And so I tapped in the first 3 numbers of my call, and visual voicemail came up. The gentleman from Verizon who were looking over my shoulder said, "Wow, that really is a piece of shit." We're going to give you a new phone. No, you're not. I don't think you realize what's happened here today. This is historic. My phone is beginning to exhibit signs of free will. I have to learn to communicate with it. I don't have children, and this could be my last chance. I'm gonna raise this little son of a bitch, and he's gonna be great. And I'm gonna call him Groin. I am old. I used to think it had to do with the calendar. It doesn't. It's something you know. It's something that happens. You're young, you're young, you're young, and then you wake up one day, and you're fucking old! Are you shitting me? 2 slices of mushroom pizza, and it's come to this. Nothing irritates me more than when I'm watching a celebrity on TV who's about my age and they go, you know, I just turned 64 and I've never felt better in my life. Really, douchebag? This is the best you've ever felt? What was your childhood like? Did you have polio and they kept you in an iron lung until you were 21? And then when you got out, they covered you with ticks and your parents just got the last one off yesterday? I don't know what you see when you look in a mirror, but I'm looking at you and you look like shit. You've got 10 hairs and 3 are coming out of your nose. You got a gizzard on you that makes me think that a turkey's gonna be fucking you in the ass. I know why you've never felt better in your life. You have Alzheimer's. There are some folks who seem to be just timeless, that age doesn't affect them at all. One in particular, one that I met, is Ringo Starr, who just turned 70. 70, and you'd have no fucking idea. I met him because I was invited to his birthday party for reasons I will never fucking understand. He performed that night, and he was unbelievable. He was astonishing. And then I went to the party afterwards, and it was filled with the legends of rock and roll. Rock and roll is like a religion to me, so it felt like it was a cathedral, which is an odd thing for a Jew to say. But synagogue of rock and roll really doesn't trip off the tongue, does it? The first concert tour that I ever saw as a kid was the first concert tour of the United States taken by the Rolling Stones. And 12 feet away from me was Keith Richards. I couldn't believe it. And so I thought I should talk to him, and I got 5 feet away, and he turned, and he looked like he just broke out of Jurassic Park. I thought he was gonna swoop down and grab me by the neck and take me around the room and tear my throat out, and then would begin a bloodlust that would never end. They finally said to me, Ringo Starr would like to meet you, and I thought, wow. And I'm not starstruck, but I did try to prepare myself, and it didn't work. I went up and shook his hands, and I said, it was like an AT&T conversation. And so the handlers quickly got me out of the room, and I ended up going into another room as I was trying to leave, and the only people there were myself, and I'm looking at a very beautiful blonde, and next to her is Paul McCartney. And I'm looking at Paul, and he is looking at me. And then he winked at me. Now, what do when Paul McCartney winks at you? You wink the fuck back. You don't think about it, you just get both eyes. I went home that night, and I lay in my bed, and I realized that maybe I wasn't old, because deep in my chest beat the heart of a 12-year-old girl. And that night I menstruated. It's not as bad as they say. One of the reasons that I feel that we age in this country is because from the time you're born until the day you die, you listen to the same arguments over and over and over and over again. They never end. They don't. Major issues, we bang them back and forth all the time. We're a democracy, and that's what you do. That's one of the prices we pay for having a democracy, is to discuss things until our ears bleed. They even make laws. That doesn't even bother people. They continue to go, that's a bunch of shit, I'm not gonna fuck you. We don't decide much, do we? We really don't seem to. We really seem to be just happy arguing. And you younger members of the audience, the argument that you're gonna listen to your entire life, and I guarantee it, is the argument over gay marriage. There are states that already passed the law and then, oh, we made a mistake, and changed it again. And that will continue until the day you fucking die. And then you will go wherever it is you go, far, far away. And even when you're there, you will still hear from here, that son of a bitch, we're gonna have to do that. Some fucking gay marriage shit, I can't start. What the fuck? One of the major arguments in my lifetime is the argument that we have over health and how we take care of ourselves. It's gone on and on and on. The reason we're at where we're at is because way before I was born, the decision was made that because we're a capitalist country, that health should be seen as a profit-making institution. That's the way people saw it. That's why it's so odd that we're actually having an argument over something that was decided long, long ago, and there's still people who defend that. Now, I'm not sure that health is a profit institution. I'm not sure. Because it's what stands between you and fucking dropping dead! It's not soybeans, is it? It's not fucking fucking bottled water. It's not goddamn cell phone coverage, Time Warner shit. It's none of that. It's your health. And I know it's not a commodity because you've never stopped at a red light and had a crack addict come up to you and go, hey, can I sell you some of my health? In the center of the debate over health care was is the major argument of my lifetime. It's the most inflammatory argument that we go through as a people, and that is the one argument that we have over abortion. Let me just say as a comic, nothing at all gives me as much pleasure as to say to a group of people who've come to be entertained, abortion. I take great joy in it because I say the word and then I hear every anus in the room snap shut. What a joy. It just shuts you fuckers up. Then, of course, there are those who don't know my comedy and are going, boy, this would be a good time for him to bring that kazoo out. And as always, there are people in the room who go, you know, he just says the word fuck too much. Well, after I said the word, you know, abortion, fuck seems like a festival, doesn't it? When I was young, you could be pro-abortion or anti-abortion. And now, 62 years later, you can be pro-choice or you can be pro-life. And that is what we've accomplished during my lifetime. We've made no decision as to when life begins. None. Every other civilized country on the planet's done it. But it's hard for us. We can't get the names of all the terrorists, all the airports. So this one, is a real brain teaser. And since we don't know and haven't decided when life begins, then to be honest, I don't know if I'm really here. But I do know I've never felt better in my life. I have some really good news for you. The economy is turning around. I know you've missed it, haven't you? You were waiting for your ears to thaw, and you may have missed it. But it's true. I know this, and it should have been, it should have been really on the front page of the paper, and it wasn't. And we know that the economy is turning around because Facebook is going to be worth $50 billion. Wow, it depresses me that you don't understand how good that news that I'm bringing to you now. How do you miss it? Because if Facebook is going to be worth $50 billion, imagine what real shit's going to be worth. The reason we know that Facebook is going to be worth $50 billion, and if China signs on, it could be worth $200 billion. How do we know that? Because the most trusted name in financial institutions, Goldman Sachs, has told us, and they're never wrong. They aren't. They started the tech bubble, and they made away like bandits. And then they were deeply involved in that mortgage bubble. And they sold shitty mortgages and realized finally that the mortgages they were selling were so shitty that they would bet against the people that they fucking sold the mortgages to and make even more money. And now they thought, wow, let's go back to the tech bubble again because Americans can't remember the first one because we fucked them with the second one. It's interesting, if Facebook is going to be worth $200 billion, wouldn't you want to have some stock in it? Of course you would. Why wouldn't you? If it were a guarantee, you'd be right there. But you know what? Well, you can't. You fucking can't. I can't either. Only certain people, secret people, people who are very friendly with the folks at Goldman Sachs, who have a key to the elevator. People who are so fucking rich that if I say their name, this will turn into a snuff film. $200 billion. Facebook. $200 billion so that I can read that, well, Janet had a little problem today. She got to work and boy, oh boy, the boss was really angry. And then she had a touch of diarrhea coming on and the Maalox didn't work. And she's not sure if it's something she ate or a stomach virus of some sort. And now she's not going to make it to karaoke and she practiced all week. Frowny face, frowny face, frowny face. If it's really going to be worth $200 billion, then I believe that my penis is worth at least $10 million. Yeah, absolutely. Because I can take it out, I can show it to you, it does things, you can touch it. And If I could tie it in a knot, it'd be worth $15 million. And I wouldn't have to do this shit for a living. I'd just take it out, yeah, ta-da! And then, as an encore, I'd put a kazoo in its little mouth, and it would play a tune for you. I have to take a moment to explain something to folks in the audience, because I know chances are there's a number of you who don't know what Farmville is. If you didn't know what an application is, Farmville is like, from another planet. On Facebook, you can actually create your own cartoon farm. How amazing is that? And wouldn't you want to do it given the chance? Cartoon chickens and cartoon geese, and you grow crops, green beans, whatever, tomatoes, whatever you like. Whatever you like. No pot! Don't fucking grow pot! You have a little farm and a little farmhouse and a barn and everything, and it's quite wonderful. And I didn't even know about it until a friend of mine sent me a couple of cartoon ducks. I said, what the fuck is this about? Can I eat them? So people do this because really, everybody's always dreamed of having a fake farm. And I want you to remember to breathe as I make the next statement. There are people who make a living, and I know one, by helping people who have a farm on Farmville. They take care of it because these people don't have time to do it themselves. Makes you rethink farm subsidies, doesn't it? I don't like telling folks what to do with their discretionary income, but occasionally you have to be the adult and say, no! I don't think you know what you're doing here. You're having another human being tend to an imaginary farm. You're having them take care of something that's inside your head. I don't know if the Democrats or the Republicans really know how to deal with the economy at all. But it's amazing that this new party, the Tea Party, believes that it does. I've waited my whole life for there to be a third party. I've been totally intolerant for quite some time of both Democrats and Republicans. But now, the third party shows up. And this is what I fucking got? Be careful what you wish for. I was attracted to them at first. They're a lot like me. They're angry. Anybody knows anger, it's fucking moi. And they're crazy. I'm fucking crazy. And we're angry and we're crazy for exactly the same reason. Because the Democrats make us angry and the Republicans make us crazy. Or switch it around if you wish. Whatever makes you fucking laugh. It's extraordinary. They have convinced a group of people to bust out of their double wides. Yes. Yeah. I'd put video on this cube if I could fucking show you. Busting out of their double wides, dressed as Ben Franklin, holding a kite in one hand and a key in the other, screaming, "Don't tax the rich!" If a group of people, leaders, can convince a group of folks who barely have a pot to piss in that the rich shouldn't be taxed, that is leadership. These are leaders who live in the past and yet want to decide what we do in the future. That doesn't even make for a good movie. You've got one of the gems here. No, you do, don't you? Michelle Bachmann certainly giving you some amazing press. America won't hear it. Not that many people are going to watch that special. Could be too little, too late. I talk about her, but after a paragraph or so, I begin to have seizures. Then, of course, there was Christine O'Donnell. She's the one who was nominated to be the Republican candidate for the Senate from Delaware, and that was the best Delaware could do. Can you imagine? When a state, I just said that's when you strip them of their statehood. I wish they'd nominated a wallaby. Yeah, a little kangaroo would have been fun to watch on C-SPAN just to see where the critter took a shit. She announced that she had not masturbated in 13 years. Holy fuck. Isn't that something you keep a secret? Or was she so crazy from not masturbating, she just blurted it out? I tell you, if I didn't masturbate for 13 hours, my hands would try to choke me to death. Because my hands love me that much. I would accept Sarah Palin running for the presidency of the United States if she ran from Farmville. I think that would be absolutely splendid. An advertisement with her, she's completely there, and there's cartoon ducks and geese, and, you know, there's rows of corn and all sorts of shit. She's got a magnificent home and a beautiful barn, and then Bristol would be standing there with an abstinence-only T-shirt. And Trig, of course, would be there because he's the first baby ever named after math. And if you didn't laugh at that, then you didn't get who the joke was directed at, asshole. And then you'd see in the sky helicopters strafing the elderly, and she'd point out to us where Russian Farmville was. And then she would go down to the river, babbling brook, and pull from it one fish. And she would say, "This is one fish, and now there are 20 fish." And then she would go inside and go to the oven and pull from it a loaf of bread. And she would say, "This is one loaf, and now there are 20. And that, she would say, is her economic policy. I still wouldn't vote for her. But I have to say, I'd poke her. It's been a pleasure. You guys have been terrific. Thank you. I'd just like to thank all the folks on the crew, the whole crew that comes out here, and my producers. I told them literally 8 weeks ago I wanted to do this, and they're like, "No problem." I'm glad they're nuts. But what I'm standing in front of, and you're not going to believe this, my father, at the age of 66, became a painter. And he's 93 now. So when people tell you, if you're like 27 and say, "I can't change careers," fuck you. And so this is a painting of his that we basically blew up for the stage to use as a set. What's really interesting about his career as a painter is that he painted until he was 83, and I said, because when I go home, he'd show me his stuff, and he didn't have anything. I said, what's going on? And he goes, and I don't believe there's a painter in history who's ever said this, I ran out of ideas. It's tough with my mother being here. She's actually hired 2 lawyers because I'm not paying my father, and she's suing me for this. And I'm going to guarantee you this too: if Michelle Bachmann runs for the presidency of this country, I'm running my mother. It's been a pleasure. You guys really exceptional.